Okay, so in this little mini unit, this is supposed to be tacked on to when we do conic sections, but we ran out of time. Conic sections you only see on the ACT, and if you see it, it's one problem. But equations of circles are all over the ACT because of geometry. Also, huge concept in college algebra. I don't know why equations of circles lands in college algebra, but it does. It's, to me, a very much geometry concept, but it does land itself in college algebra. So this is a big deal. Okay, so equations of circles. This is center radius form, where where R is the radius of the circle, and HK is the center. So notice it has the opposite sign of what's on the inside, and this should be Y, not X. Okay, HK is the center, and my radius is R, so not R squared, just R. So the equation for the circle above, so here's my center at 1, -1. And remember that radius is the distance from the center to the outside, so that's 2 units, so my radius is 2. So that means that the center would be x minus 1 squared plus y plus 1 squared, so opposite, right? -1, +1. And r squared is what goes on the outside, so 2 squared is 4. And that is center radius form of the circle. Okay? So real simple, we start off with center radius form, identify the center and identify the radius. So my center would be inside opposite, so -2, +1. And my radius is the square root of what's here, and the square root of 16 is 4. So again, center, opposite sign, so +4, +12. And my radius is the square root of what's on this side, so square root of 10. Now this is super common to get a radius that is the square root of a number, so don't panic, happens quite often. So center is opposite, so -10, +19, and radius would be the square root of 225, which is 15. Okay, so that's just reading straight from center radius form. Okay, so write the equation in center radius form given the center radius. So same information, and we're just working backwards. So x, so opposite, so instead of a -2, it would be a +2 squared. The middle is always plus. Y, opposite, so it's a +1, so it'll be -1 squared is equal to the radius squared, so r squared is 25. Okay, so again, opposite, so x +3 squared plus y -8 opposite squared is equal to the radius squared, so 12 squared is 144. So number 3, x +10 opposite squared, y -8 squared, square root of 2 squared is 2. Number 4, immediately notice that in 4 and 5 it gives us the diameter and not the radius. So I would go under here and write radius. If diameter is 12, then radius is 6. Be super cautious. They love to do this in college algebra as well. So we have x +3 squared plus y -4 squared is equal to the radius squared, which is 36. So same thing, x -5 squared plus y -5 squared is equal to the radius squared. So radius half of 16 is 8. So radius squared is 64. Okay. All right, so standard form. So standard form is just expanding all of this stuff completely out and writing it all on one side. So expand each of the binomials, combine like terms, move constants to the same side as the variable, and order the variable in powers. So I'm going to expand these two first. Okay, so you can do this by doing x plus 2 times x plus 2 off to the side if you need to, but remember there's a shortcut, and I told you every opportunity I have to tell you the shortcut, I'm going to tell you again. So when you're squaring a binomial, if you'll square the first term, x squared, twice the product, so 2 times x is 2x, and twice that is 4x, and then square the second term, plus 4, plus square the first term, twice the product, square of the last term. So I expanded each of the binomials. Combine like terms, so the only like terms I have are my constants. So I have x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 6y. 4 plus 9 is 13. So then I need to move my constant to the same side, so I'm going to subtract 4. So I have x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 6y plus 13 is equal to, oh, sorry, forgot what I was doing. Subtract 4 from both sides, so plus 9 is equal to 0. And then they like it in x squared plus y squared plus 4x minus 6y plus 9 is equal to 0. So your squared terms first, then your single terms, and then your constant. Okay? Okay? So, the other thing that they want you to do is to go from standard form back to center radius. This involves you completing the square, which is everybody's dreaded skill. Nobody really likes it. It's not fun, but it is what it is, okay? So the first thing is, if your square terms have coefficients, then we have to clear that. So they have a 3, so I'm going to divide by 3. This will happen every time. It is going to divide evenly. You're not going to be left with a fraction. I'm not saying you couldn't be. I'm just saying typically in the scope of college algebra, it just divides out evenly. So we're going to have x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 8y plus 16 is equal to 0. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is move my constant to the other side after that. So I have x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 8y is equal to negative 16. So then we want to complete the square for the x term and balance the equation. So that would be x squared plus 4x with a blank, y squared. Now clearly you could do this in one step, but I just want to go step by step so that we you look and you can see exactly what you're doing. So remember, we take half of the center term and square it. So half of 4 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. If I add 4 to the left, I have to add 4 to the right. So I get this perfect square of x plus 2 quantity squared, and I'm going to then complete the square for the y term. So I have y squared minus 8y with a blank is equal to 16, and negative 16 plus 4 is a negative 12, and a blank to keep myself balanced. So half of the center term is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is a positive 16. So if I add 16 to the left, I add 16 to the right. So I have x plus 2 squared plus y minus 4 squared is equal to a positive 4. And I don't know why I have an F there. I think I copied that from the wrong thing. Maybe. Okay. So we have then, well, I guess we can say that the center is negative 2, positive 4, and my radius is the square root of this, which is 2. Okay, so we have center radius form. All right. So write each of the following in center radius form. So lots of completing the square, right? So we're going to do it in one step, blank, plus y squared plus 8y and a blank. So I would have subtracted 20. So I have negative 20 blank blank. So I have two blanks to keep myself balanced, right? So then half of negative 6 is negative 3. Negative 3 squared is positive 9. If I add 9 to the left, I need to add 9 to the right. Okay? So then we're going to complete this one. So half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16. If I add 16 to the left, I add 16 to the right. Now that keeps me balanced. So then I'm going to write my perfect squares. So I have x minus 3 squared plus y plus 4 squared. And then you have negative 20 plus 9 plus 16 is 25 minus 20 is 5. So just as practice, center would be 3, negative 4. So remember, it's the opposite of what you see. And then the radius would not be 5. It would be square root of 5. Good. Okay. So remember, first thing, if that square term has a coefficient, we're going to get rid of it. So we're going to divide by 2. So I have x squared minus 2x with a blank plus y squared minus 10y with a blank. And this would be negative 22 blank blank, right? To keep my equation balanced. So half of negative 2, is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1. So I'm going to do it to the left and to the right. And half of negative 10 is negative 5. Negative 5 squared is positive 25. Positive 25. So I'm going to write my perfect squares. X minus 1 squared plus y minus 5 squared. 26 minus 22 is 4. So my center is 1, 5, and my radius is the square root of that, which is 2. Okay? So graph the following. It says if it's not a perfect square, leave it in simplified radical form, but use the decimal equivalent for graphing. So my center here is 3, negative 1. So positive 1, 2, 3, negative 1, right? And my radius is the square root of that, which would be 2. So that means I go out 2, up 2, out 2. I knew I wasn't going to make it through it. And down 2. And I'm so sad that you guys are not here to make fun of my circle, because I know you take great joy in that, but it's fine. My feelings are hurt, if that makes you feel better, because I know you would be making fun of my circle. Okay, so letter B, center would be positive 2, positive 5. So positive 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my radius would be the square root of 9, which is 3. So 3 to the right. It hates me. 3 to the right. It's not going to let me do it. 3 to the, no. 3 to the right. 3 up. 3 to the left. And 3 down. And this one's going to be even worse. It's totally fine. And we have our circle. Now this one, this is just meanness. Just mean. Mean, mean, mean. Why is that just mean? Well, because it's backwards, and there's no reason to have it backwards other than just to be mean. So my center, contrary to what you might glance at it and think is negative 4, negative 2, is not, because it's out of order. Why? I don't know. Just people like to be difficult, okay? People that aren't me, because I didn't make this. I'm not saying I'm not difficult. I'm just saying that I didn't make this, okay? So my center is actually negative 2, negative 4. And my radius is the square root of 16, which is 4. So I have negative 1, 2, negative 1, 2, 3, 4. And then my radius would be 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4 up, 1, 2, 3, 4 left, and 1, 2, 3, 4 down. And I can hear you laughing at my circle. It's totally fine. Doesn't even bother me. Okay? All right, so for each circle, identify the center and the radius. So it's a lot of the same repetitive things, right? Okay, but it's fine. We can do that. So center is opposite of what you see. So -3, +1. Radius is the square root of 4, which is 2. Center. Now what happens here? There's nothing with x. What does that mean? Does that mean there's no x coordinate? Of course not. We know that if there's nothing there, that there's a 0, right? So x plus 0, we don't write x plus 0, so we would just put 0, 3. And the square root of 18, do not write the square root of 18. You know how to simplify a radical. So that would be 9 times 2, which would be 3 square roots of 2. And again, mean. Just mean. Okay? It's backwards. Okay, so my center is -2, -8. And the square root of 72 be 36 times 2, so 6 square roots of 2. Okay? So here we have a center at 1, 2, 3, -4, +3, and a radius of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means my equation, opposite, opposite, and radius squared. Center, 1, -1, radius 1, 2, 3. So opposite, opposite, and radius squared is 9. Got it? Okay, so to write it in center radius form means that we have to complete that square. Okay, so I'm going to add 5. And I'm going to move my stuff together. So -4x with a blank, y squared plus 8y with a blank, and plus 5, well, I don't have to write the plus, I don't suppose, 5 and a blank to keep myself balanced. So half of -4 is -2, squared is 4. And half of 8 is 4, and 4 squared is 16. So then we need to clean everything up. So write this as a perfect square, x minus 2 squared, y plus 4 squared, and 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 16 is 25. So my center is 2, -4, with a radius of 5. Remember, it's the square root of this number. Okay, so we need to divide by 4. So I have x squared plus y squared plus 36y plus 5 over 4. So I'm going to subtract 5 over 4 and then start completing my squares. So I don't have anything to go with x, so x is just x. And then I have y squared minus 36y plus 36y, sorry, with a blank, is equal to -5 over 6 and a blank. So half of 36 is 18. This is terrible. Oh, I didn't divide by 4. I know you were saying that very loudly and I wasn't paying attention. I can hear you now. I'm so sorry. So here. This should be 9. I knew that number was way too big. So this should be 9. Okay, which means this would be plus 9y with a blank equals -5 over 4 with a blank. So that's a little bit better. So half of 9, fractions. Half of 9 is 9 over 2, and 9 over 2 squared is 81 over 4. So then we have 81 over 4. Whatever I do to the left, I have to do to the right. So I have x squared plus y plus 9 over 2 squared is equal to, and then I have 81 minus 5, which is 76 over 4. So my center is 0, -9 over 2. And my radius is the square root of that. Does 76 is divisible by 4, and that's 19, so the square root of 19. Okay. So to write each in standard form, we just expand and then move everything to one side, right? So again, the shortcut, now you can multiply this all out using distributive property or FOIL method, whatever you were taught. But again, every time I have the opportunity to show you the shortcut, I'm going to show you the shortcut. So square the first term, twice the product. So 2 times x is 2x and twice that is 4x. Square the second term, plus square the first term, twice the product, square of the last term. Okay, so then I have x squared plus y squared plus 4x minus 4y, and 4 plus 4 is 8. And then we have to move our 16. So you have x squared plus y squared plus 4x minus 4y minus 8 is equal to 0. Okay, so same thing, square the first term, twice the product, square the second term, square the first term, twice the product, square the second term. So x squared plus y squared minus 6x plus 8y. 9 plus 16 is 25. And subtract 8. So x squared plus y squared minus 6x plus 8y plus 17. Identify the center and radius of each. So my center is 0, 0, and my radius is the square root, which is 7. Number 4, my center is -7, -8, and my radius is the square root of 64, which is 8. It's pretty standard. So 7, 0, -2 for my center. My radius is square root, which is 11. All of those are nice perfect squares. So to find the center and the radius here, we would have to put it in standard form. We've done that multiple times. Move everything to one side. Put it in center radius form. Everything needs to be on one side except for your constant. Keep your equation balanced and solve. So let's just do number 11. So I'm going to move everything over here so that it's positive except for that. So I have x squared minus 6x. Move this to the other side, so this will be plus y squared. So plus y squared minus 32y is equal to negative 264. Okay, so then I'm going to group so that I can complete the square. And 2 blanks to keep me balanced, right? So half of 6 is 3, and 3 squared is 9. Half of 32 is 16, and 16 squared is 256. So I have x minus 3 squared, y minus 16 squared is equal to negative 264 plus 9 plus 256 is 1. So my center is 316 and my radius is a teeny tiny little 1. Okay. So we can do this. We've done this. We did this a while ago. So let's see. My center is -2, -3. And my radius would be 2. So -2, -3. And my radius would be 1, 2 to the right. Oh my goodness. 1, 2 to the right, 1, 2 up, 1, 2 left, and 1, 2 down, right? Oh my goodness. 1, 2. It's just not going to let me do it. And that was only 1 down. Oh my goodness. 1, 2. Nope. 1, 2. All right, there we go. Now we have a circle. Okay. All right, so you have a couple handouts to complete for practice. You have equations of circles, and then a handout number 2, and then a practice review, and then a practice test, okay? So you have handout number 1 and number 2, a review handout, and a practice, we'll call it test/quiz. Okay, the one concept that you're going to do in handout number 1 that we haven't really talked about is determining whether it's a circle, a point, or, well, some call it does not exist, some say it's not a circle. We're going to call it does not exist, or it doesn't make a circle. Okay, so for a circle, when you put it in center radius form, you get a positive number. Okay, so if it's in center radius form and you have a positive number, you have a circle. If it is a point, when you put it in center radius form, you get 0. So once it's in center radius form, if it is set equal to 0, that is a point. Okay, and lastly, does not exist is when it is in center radius form and you get a negative number. Okay, I better write that out. Okay, so circle, just what we've been doing this whole time. Center radius form is equal to a positive number. Doesn't matter if it's a perfect square, doesn't matter if it's a radical, doesn't matter what it is a circle. Okay, as long as it is a positive real number. Okay, if you have center radius form and it's set equal to 0, that means it has no radius. It's literally just a point. It is a fancy schmancy way to write a point in space, okay, in the coordinate plane. And then if it does not exist, then you will have center radius form set equal to a negative number, because clearly you cannot have a negative distance, so you cannot have a negative radius. Okay? So make sure that you do the practice, handout 1, 2, and the review. I think it's handout 1. Yeah. Handout 2. Oh, okay, it's just the handout 1, handout 2, and then the test review. That was my bad. Okay, so let me go back here. There is no review handout. It's the test review. Okay, I was just remembering incorrectly. So handout 1, handout 2, and then you have a practice test. Okay, so just kind of take that, quiz yourself, and see where you stand. Again, huge college algebra concept, so make sure that you are practicing.